Welcome to the Kintsugi Heroes Podcast, where we share inspirational stories of everyday people going through different challenges and how they overcome them. Please be aware that the story you're about to hear may have moments of deeply felt emotions and personal experiences. If anything you hear has a triggering effect, please reach out to someone who can help keep you safe. If you love this conversation, we'd love you to like and share it with your friends so we can continue to share more inspiration and hope to as many people as possible. Now, listen up for our next hero story. What a lovely conversation this was with Philip Basche. Before we started recording, we were in the green room and he said, "Aveline, I don't really think I've got much of a story. I don't think I've got much to share. Who am I? I'm not that special." So I got him to accept that we needed to have the conversation. And of course, I didn't know what his story was about. And then we started recording. And then he comes out with this journey of his health issues. But it wasn't just that. He holds the record at St. Vincent's Hospital in Sydney for the most heart bypasses in one operation, which he had when he was 51. Now he's 73, so it's 22 years later, and he's still here living his life with meaning. He's going strong. But he had such a beautiful story, so I couldn't believe he said he had nothing to share. But the point of his story is the things that matter most we need to hold dear. What I got from it was how we need to live our life reverently and consciously, and don't take anything for granted. He attributes his success in continuing to keep alive and high his marriage, exercise, and being a part of a supportive community. That was the key message from him. It's a great story. I hope you enjoy. Hello, we are here. It's another episode of Kintsugi Heroes, and my guest is Philip Basche. Philip, thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure, Aveline. Absolute pleasure.
Wonderful. Well, let's get started, shall we? Can you take us back? Like, where does your story begin? Provide us with that context and the background and what was going on for you.
Yeah, look, probably the trauma in my life was mainly around the diagnosis of a serious heart condition. You know, when I was 51, it ended up that I had 7 heart bypasses, which was pretty amazing and large for anyone to have had. In fact, it's probably hasn't been beaten since I had that in the year 2001. The beginning of my life was very good, actually, as far as education was concerned, loving family, except that I lost my father when I was about 14 from alcohol. I lost a 12-year brother who was 12 years older than me when I was 21 from cancer. And I've also lost an ex-wife who I watched become an alcoholic through my marriage with her, and she died 10 years after I left that relationship. But really, I suppose the defining part of my life was realizing that I may not have very much longer to live, and here I am 21, 22 years later, still here. What have I done in relation to trying to live my life with meaning? And mostly it's around the satisfaction of being able to give back. And I've done that in a number of different ways with volunteering as a Lifeline telephone crisis supporter. I've also mentoring through an organisation called Mentoring Men. I've been on a number of boards of not-for-profit organisations as well, mostly involved with young people and mental health issues. And that in itself has given me a significant amount of fulfillment from being able to do that. The thing I think that is most important is that I'm able to understand one of the reasons that I've been able to keep my health the way it is that my prolific amount of exercise that I do. It is the thing that mentally and physically keeps people well adjusted. And I think that very sincerely that's always been part of my life. And it has never been a struggle for me to want to do that. And that's exactly what I do. The other thing that I find is extremely important in my life for me has been the community, the friends that I've got. They have been really, really supportive. And through my experience at Lifeline, I understand that there are many people out there who don't have that level of support from other human beings. That is something that is extremely important for everybody. And part of what I was doing at Lifeline was to be involved in training the community in relation to how to relate to people in crisis or just people in general. And I find that that is something that I'm continually doing in my own personal life, and it brings to me a great deal of satisfaction in being able to be there for people and, most importantly, listen, active listen, non-judgment, and really just be there in the space for the person who's talking to you, which has been amazing. As far as my heart condition's concerned, I've had a number of relapses. I've had quite serious concerns in relation to a couple of very nasty places where I actually I fainted. I've been taken to ICU 2 or 3 times. So every day is, I have the question in my mind, what's going to happen today? But I think the major thing that really stood out for me when I had that problem was you got to live every day of your life for today, and not really think about what could happen, but just get on with it. And, the ability to be able to help other people get on with it has, for me, been absolutely, absolutely so rewarding. And that's really what gives me the strength, because I know I'm serving a purpose being on the planet. I know I am. And when people say thank you for being there, it's the greatest feeling that you get when that happens.
It's really lovely, Philip. And I can see why you would be so comfortable, or so we should say life qualified, to be a mentor or a crisis counsellor with Lifeline, given what you've been through. Can I take you back? You lost your dad at 14. How did that change your world at that age?
It actually really didn't, Aveline, because from the minute probably from when I was born, he was in and out of rehab, in homes. So he was never really a dad for me. Mm-hmm. So I don't have a lot of pain over that. The bigger pain comes for me when I lost my brother, who had then become my father figure, and he was taken away when I was 21. And I think that had more effect on me than losing my dad, to be honest. That was really, really hard for me to get over. And I understand that a father figure in people's lives is extremely important. And I'm also very understanding of the families, the support a family can give people. And that's, again, what I get involved with quite a lot through the mentoring experiences, being a father figure for the people that I'm mentoring, and just being there for them to talk to somebody about anything. And Aveline, I have to say that, the adversity that I've had, but it's also much made up by being able to give back. And I just don't know whether I'm making that clear, but that's the way I feel.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Who did you have to help you through the passing of the loss of your brother?
My friends, my friends, I have to say that is my major source of strength. And I, yeah, I suppose I didn't have a father figure ever again. But certainly my friends have been there for me right the way through. I had a very nasty experience in the Arctic Circle where I did have an episode, and I remember myself going into a fit of depression when I was in ICU in Finland, and I made 4 phone calls to my 4 best friends, and my mood just went through the roof. I mean, it was just like, and that's when I really realised and understood how important having people around you is to everybody, and how when I listen to people when I'm talking on the phones that they don't have anyone to go for except a stranger on the end of a telephone, my heart goes out to those people, because that's what we all as human beings need, is somebody there to support us.
Yeah, absolutely. We do. So tell me, those friends you had at 21 when you lost your brother, did those friends become kind of lifelong friends? Were you close to them for a long time?
I have to say to you, Evelyn, I cannot, I'm going to say, I've just lost one of my 5 closest friends 2 days ago. And, I have contacted the other 3 close friends to tell them what's happened, and the support has been amazing, absolutely amazing. So both for 2 of the people that I've talked about, one was my best man at my wedding, the other one was a groomsman. So, and one of my friends, I've known him since we were 9 years of age. So, those sort of friends never disappear, never disappear. I've been so lucky.
Yeah, that's why I asked, because when you have friends like that, especially at that age, and when you go through something that big, those friends become your family.
Yeah, exactly.
So 21, and then your next big thing that happened was 30 years later. How did the diagnosis of your heart condition come about? Like, what was happening for you when you found out?
Actually following this, I told a lot of people about what happened. I went and did a stress test. I went to a doctor to get a checkup for a life insurance policy. One of the people who bought into my business wanted to take out on me. And he said, "Oh, you've got some problems." When he did the ECG, I went to have a stress test, and I saw the people who were behind me when I was doing the stress test with absolute shock in their eyes, and they couldn't believe what they were seeing. So the next thing was that I was, I then took myself off to hospital, and they said, "Well, you've just had the most massive heart attack." And I said, "No, I haven't." "What do you mean I've had a massive heart attack?" I have absolutely to this day no idea, no memory of when that heart attack occurred. And I do make a point of telling people that, because sometimes obviously it can happen, and mine was massive, but I had no idea. So, that was how it occurred.
Were they able to pinpoint the time that it happened, or how long it had been? No. Okay.
No, and neither could I. So
that's amazing.
No one knows.
No one knows. So when you turned up at hospital and they said, "Oh, you've had a massive heart attack," did they basically say, "You're in now? Like, come on in. We need to do some work"?
Pretty much. And they said, "We'll go in and have a look." And when I came out, my then partner said, "You've had 7." And I had 7. Said 7 what? 7 bypasses. So, that was pretty traumatic in itself, hearing that news. Yeah, quite traumatic.
How long were you under for?
I think about 5 hours. Yeah, about 5 hours.
Okay. And it was 7 in the one operation, or were they spread out?
Yeah. Sure.
7.
No. A couple of arteries had 2 two bypasses in a couple of the arteries. Yeah. Anyway, it was it was traumatic, but also, as I said before, Aveline, I look at it as being a great asset to my life too, because it made me think about why I was here, what I was going to do, how I just couldn't rely on my life going forever. And I suppose that's the way I treat my life right now. I don't know when it's not going to be here. Neither does anyone. Let me tell you. I'm not saying everybody knows that, but it's sort of the chances are far higher for someone with my condition for it not to be here.
Mm. So that was what happened when you came out. You had that moment of clarity and that the opportunity to look at life and realise.
Yeah, I was also in a very, very fortunate position that I owned my own business and I could manipulate my own remuneration and the employment of people to make my life just that much better around the things that I actually wanted to do with it. So that again, I was very, very fortunate to have that as the ability to do that as well.
Where can I ask? Because I just want to pull in the other piece that you mentioned earlier about your ex-wife going through alcoholism. Did that happen before your heart multiple bypass operation?
Yeah, it did. It actually did. I left her decided I had to leave in June 2000, and my bypass occurred a year later. And, I probably don't have a lot of doubt that was partially, that caused the heart problems. I'm sure about it, because it's not an easy thing to do, to walk away from someone who is not in a good place. But I just couldn't do that. Yeah.
Must have been hard. So you came out, you had a look at your life and got a bit of perspective at 51. What were the immediate changes that you made in your life as a result of the operation?
As it turns out, at the same time, my partner came into my life, a new partner with whom I'm still with. So that was sort of like a line in the sand saying, right, now I've got a new relationship, a new partner, and both our desire was to do a lot of travel, and that's what we did for the next 20 years. And to be honest, I'm not sure I can travel again after the last year or so. But if I can't, then that's just the way it is. I've been very, very fortunate in what I've been able to do, and I've loved every minute of it. And that's and also the fact that I, had an ambition and I had a business coach who said, this is where I've got to get to financially to be able to retire, and that's what I did. So it just worked out that way.
Again, you had good people around you, didn't you?
Aveline, I have to say to you, that is that so much is what we really need to instill in our community, that we're all here for everybody else. We're not here just for ourselves. We are here to help other people, because the feeling you get when you're able to do that is unbelievable. So I've experienced that firsthand with the people around me. And I suppose if I could just wave a magic wand, I'd get everybody trained in our community to be able to sit and listen to other people's stories and, just help people get through the issues they've got.
How important was it at the time you met your new partner for her to come into your life to help you, partner with you and give you that sense of, all the things that a new relationship brings, to start that new phase? Our partners, and that's the question, is because obviously we're talking about having the right people around us, and our partners, whether it's a business partner or a life partner, are just so critical.
Look, it was 9 months after I started my relationship with Katrina that she was sitting next to me and said, "You've had 7." And I said to her, "You'd better leave now because this may not be very nice." And still 20 odd years later, she's still here. So again, my belief in people is just, it's indescribable because that is so important. And, I could go on forever about people, but I'm so aware of how important it is for everybody to have someone in their lives, anyway. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. What did the doctors say to you after the bypass operation? What kind of outlook did they give you? Was it a negative one?
They didn't, and they never have. And even now I have 2 cardiologists because I'm a bit greedy. And I say to each of them, what's the prognosis? And that they understandably won't answer that. But, I feel this time last year I was in hospital and having some serious operation. 12 months later, I'm feeling like the best I've felt for about 7 or 8 years. And so I've just finished a 10-kilometre walk, and I don't feel the effects of having done that. So again, you just got to get on with it. When you can get on with it, you get on with it. There's always the inkling in the back of your mind that when's this going to end? But you try and dismiss that. And put good things in your life, put good people in your life. That's what makes a difference.
Have you always had a really strong state of mind, as in that belief in yourself and your life?
Yeah, I have. I've had a moment of depression, which lasted around about 2 weeks, just at the time I was leaving my ex-wife. And so that when people tell me they are suffering depression, I actually know what it means. So I'm really pleased that happened because I know it's not just, it's nothing. But I haven't. And a lot of people I say that to, Evelyn, they say, aren't you lucky you only had 2 weeks? So I do understand that sort of thing is real. But I got through it. I got through it with friends. And I just saw the guy who helped me get through it. Don't see a lot of him, but I saw him about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And, he was there. He's still a friend. I mean, yeah, okay.
And I'm looking at your face as you're talking about him, and it just lights up with just such joy and love and gratitude. So for those that are listening to this and aren't watching the video, I just want you to know that Philip's face just glowed when he was talking about his friend then. And that it's just beautiful. And that's why, you're here. You're here because your friends helped you get here and helped you live your life.
I have to say yes, but the other thing I would absolutely say, and I hear this so often, that people do not understand the importance of exercise. That is just absolutely critical to our lives. So for those 2 things, I'm so ever grateful. Yeah.
When did you start the exercise? When did that become a big thing in your life?
When I was about 30. I played rugby when I was at school, and I'm 6'2", so and I'm quite a strong person, but about 30, and so it's always been part of my life. It's always been part of my life, and the people who I have around me, friends, all the same, and that's what happens. You collect the same sort of people in your own little village, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, so true. We do, don't we? Tell me about the journey to where you are today, as in, when did it first dawn on you that giving back in some way was important to you?
Probably the late 90s, to be honest, when I joined the board of a not-for-profit in Canberra, and we were helping disadvantaged children get an education. If they weren't at the school we were running, then they were in a in the remand centre, and seeing how simple not simple, but how important it was for children particularly to have someone around them that cared about them, who were out of families where that didn't happen. And when the teacher at the school, I said, what do you teach these children, Steve? And he said, being very naive and not having much to do with this, thinking he might say reading, writing, arithmetic, he said, Phil, just one word, and I've never forgotten this, just one word: respect. Such a powerful word, and if you can just get young people to understand that word and respect everything that's around them, people, environment, their bodies. I mean, you go on. That's just such a powerful word. So that was when it started, I suppose, in the late 1990s.
And when did you start your work with Lifeline?
About 2016. We started to support their training as a business. I got involved in that, and I did some training myself. That wasn't really what I was best at doing, but I did a bit of that. And then the head trainer said to me, Phil, why don't you do the Lifeline telephone crisis supporting course? And I said, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. That's And she said to me very powerfully, she said, it'll change your life. And she was right. It did. It did. What I learned there was just unbelievable. It's been the most amazing thing, and it's given me another life post-work, which is fantastic.
It's so beautiful to hear. How much time do you give in that area at the moment?
It's really hard to say because I've also got a foundation going, and I'm supporting. I have some very strong views about. That's another long story, but a fair bit of time. Yeah, I mean, as much as I feel I want to, and I do it at my own pace. But I've got two men I'm mentoring, and that it takes a bit of time. And I don't even measure it, Aveline. I don't measure
it. And what's been the most rewarding part of this journey of giving back, would you say?
Thank you from the people that I support. Like last week, the young 23-year-old that I've been mentoring for about 18 months asked me to go to his graduation at university. You don't need much more than that. And it's all those things. It's so often when you're on the phones and, at the end of the call, someone says, oh, thank you very much, and you walk out of there feeling like $1 million because you actually know you've changed 2, 3, 4 lives in the time you've been sitting on those phones. That's what's rewarding. The word thank you. Yeah, that's what it is.
I will say you have expressed throughout this conversation your gratitude and also how important people are that giving back. So I just want to, let you know that you have said that a lot, and it really has shown through in this conversation. And I love that you've made such a point of that. And given your experience and your background, you're not in the place where many people are when they've just gone through a trauma. There's been a lot of years since that trauma at 51 with your heart operation. And you've got this beautiful wisdom and experience of then changing your life, but also creating a new life in a very different way, and using these little pieces of your life experience to then help others. And I just want to acknowledge that and thank you for sharing and the powerful message that you've given.
Thanks, Aveline. What can I say other than that? People have supported me, so if I can support people, that's what I'm on the planet for. Simple as that. Very easy.
If people listening to this who are going through anything that you've mentioned, I mean, you've mentioned a lot of different experiences that you've experienced, your family, the health condition, any of it. If someone is going through this, what piece of advice or just words, what would you like to say to them?
Talk about it, reach out, ask for support from people. If it needs professional support, ask for professional support. But importantly, don't hide it. Just talk about it. Just get it out. And particularly with men, because men don't talk about these things. Most people will offer support if you ask them for it. And that's what I think we all need to understand, that people want to help other people, but very often they're reluctant to actually come out and ask for that help. And to me, that's the answer.
It's a very, very powerful message, and you're right. People will give help. When we're asked, people will say yes, because at our core, we're all humans and we actually need each other, and we have care and compassion for each other.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Philip, for being you, for still being here, and for shining your love, your light, and your compassion and grace on the world and everybody that you come into contact with. It's so remarkable to hear your story, and I'm really grateful that you were able to share it with me today and with everyone else listening.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity, Evelyn. I hope in some way this helps somebody out there. That's the purpose of what I'm trying to do.
Well,
thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Kintsugi Heroes. Please like and share the show to your friends so we can get this out to even more people. If you have a story you'd like to share with us, please reach out using the contact details below. And join us next week for our next hero's story. Until then, keep being you, and remember that we are all heroes in our own unique way.
Only when it's broken. Only when it's broken. When it hits you in the middle of the night and the truth burns so bright. Only when it's broken. Only when it's broken. Take pride in those cries. It's only for tonight, and then you rise. Only when you're broken. Only when you're broken. Only